The office party was buzzing with chatter, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Yet, something felt off the moment I stepped inside. I had been dreading this night all week, and not because of the work itself. No, my dread came from knowing my wife, Lisa, would be there, mingling in ways I hadn't seen before. She had been distant lately. Mysterious phone calls, extra hours at work, and a smile I had once thought was just for me, now saved for someone else. My stomach tightened as I moved through the crowd, pretending to chat with colleagues while my eyes continually drifted toward her. And then I saw it. There she was, laughing. Not politely, not casually, but the kind of laugh that made heads turn, a laugh meant for someone else. Her hand rested lightly on her coworker Mark's arm. Her body leaned into him ever so slightly, and her eyes sparkled in a way I had never seen at home. She tilted her head, brushing her hair back with a flick that screamed confidence and seduction, and my chest constricted like someone had wrapped a vice around it. I froze, not because I didn't know how to act, but because the enormity of what I was seeing was paralyzing. Time seemed to slow. The music, once energetic, became nothing but background noise. Conversations and laughter around us faded, leaving only the tension that clung to my chest like smoke. I could feel every micro movement of her body, every glance she shared, every subtle touch she allowed. The man she sat with was laughing, clearly enjoying the attention, unaware of how far over the line he had crossed. And I, for the first time in months, didn't react. I didn't rush across the room. I didn't yell. I simply observed, letting the full weight of her betrayal settle in the space between us. I could have caused a scene. I knew that. I could have stormed over, yelled her name, or dragged her away. But I realized that would have been too predictable. That would have given her the satisfaction of power, of control. No, this needed to be done differently. My silence had to be my weapon. Calmness would cut deeper than any raised voice ever could. And as I stood there, I noticed the subtle signs of her facade beginning to crack, even before I made a move. Minutes passed, stretching like hours. She twirled her wine glass, laughing at something Mark whispered, her fingers brushing against his arm again. Every laugh, every flirt, every carefree gesture was a blade cutting into my chest. And yet, I remained immobile, poised, silent. I let her think she had the upper hand, that she could flaunt her behavior without consequence. The power she felt over me was false, temporary, and I was about to show her the truth in a way she would never forget. I moved slowly through the crowd, positioning myself so that my presence would be felt without a word. Colleagues greeted me casually, none aware of the tension simmering just feet away. I felt my eyes locking on hers, catching every twitch, every flicker of panic behind her confident gaze. She laughed again, trying to mask the small tremor in her hand, the tightening of her jaw. Her performance was unraveling. And the best part, she didn't even know it yet. Finally, I stepped close deliberately, letting her feel the shift in energy. Mark sensed it, too. He straightened awkwardly, unsure of how to respond to the silent storm building beside him. And then I leaned in just enough for her to hear and said a single chilling sentence. "I see everything." It wasn't a shout. It wasn't accusatory. It was calm, deliberate, and it landed with surgical precision. The confident smile she had spent the last several weeks perfecting disappeared entirely. Her cheeks drained of color and suddenly she was the one on the defensive. The room went silent. People nearby, sensing the sudden tension, slowed their conversations and turned to watch. Her eyes widened, panic rising like a tidal wave beneath the surface. Mark froze, realizing instantly that the dynamic had shifted entirely. Every movement she had made to seem untouchable was now being dissected in front of everyone. Even if they didn't understand the full story, I didn't need to shout or accuse or humiliate her verbally. Her facade was collapsing on its own, and I was merely a calm observer. She tried to laugh it off desperately, a high, brittle sound that lacked conviction. I noticed the subtle shake in her fingers as she raised her glass. The way her eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape. My chest, still tight from betrayal, eased slightly as I realized the power I held without lifting a finger. Every smug, confident thought she had about flaunting her flirting in front of me had backfired spectacularly. The humiliation she felt was silent, internal, and far more potent than anything public. Eventually, she excused herself, moving toward the bathroom with her head slightly lowered. I followed casually, keeping just enough distance to let her feel the full weight of the consequences. The look in her eyes was unmistakable. Panic, shame, confusion, fear, and I knew that she was beginning to understand that the game she thought she was playing, the power she believed she had, was gone. Not taken by force, not stolen by confrontation, but dismantled quietly, elegantly, completely. By the end of the night, her composure was gone. Colleagues who had previously laughed at her jokes now maintained polite distance. Her fake confidence had no power left, replaced by the stark realization that I had seen everything, understood everything, and had chosen to act in a way she never anticipated. She tried a few weak, tentative remarks, but they fell flat. She knew deep down that her betrayal had been witnessed, catalogued, and silently punished in the most devastating way by the calm, unwavering presence of someone who had finally woken up to the truth. When we finally left the party, I didn't yell. I didn't call her out in front of anyone. I didn't need to. I drove in silence, letting her stew in her own thoughts. The quiet devastation on her face was more effective than any public confrontation could have been. Her world had flipped, her power stripped, her confidence shattered, and it was all because I had chosen patience, observation, and the subtle art of silence. That night, I realized something profoundly simple and terrifying. Sometimes the most devastating revenge is invisible.